In the cold season of 1887, an archive was locked inside the offices of Scotland Yard that stayed hidden for more than 9 decades. The archive held reports of 7 violent deaths that filled the wealthy area of Belgravia with terror for 8 long months. Each body carried the same carved symbol upon the chest and carried traces of a strange compound that froze the faces into wide smiles of twisted laughter. What made these killings more dreadful was not only the organized pattern, but the fact that neighbors described hearing genuine waves of laughter rising from those homes. Long after the surgeon confirmed the deaths, the inquiry ended suddenly when the lead detective, Inspector Edmund Harwick, disappeared, leaving a message that simply read: "The laughter never ends." It follows into your house before the tale of London's most chilling unsolved mystery continues. You must subscribe and share in the comments the city or country you watch from, because darkness is not limited to one land or one age. What authorities buried was more than proof of a murderer's work. It was evidence of how far the elite of a Victorian society would go to guard their names, even if that meant freeing a killer to walk through the foggy veins of the empire's capital. London, during 1887, was the center of the world. Queen Victoria celebrated 50 years upon the throne with endless parades, and the city gleamed with wealth and power. The empire stretched from Asian plantations to African mines. Gaslight lamps shined upon stone lanes, creating shadows that danced across terraces and mansions belonging to the new rich families. The streets by day carried merchants, clerks, and workers moving quickly under gray skies, while by night the lamps produced yellow circles of light, swallowed by black walls of mist. Belgravia had become the chosen quarter for industrial aristocrats, who raised grand white homes around squares with neat gardens. The Harrington clan earned vast sums through mills spread across Manchester. Lord Charles Harrington, a man with stern eyes and silver whiskers, purchased a mansion at Belgrave Square for a price that signaled not only wealth, but status. Lady Margaret Harrington, younger by 2 decades, hosted lavish evenings filled with political figures, artists, and businessmen. The Cavendish line gained fortune by importing tea and opium from distant seas. The youngest brother, Geoffrey, enjoyed art, books, music, and gatherings at his Chester Square house where intellectuals and actors exchanged ideas. The Pemberton fortune came from coal mined in the hills of Wales. Lord William Pemberton, born a miner's son, climbed into high rank, though his voice always carried hints of his rough past. Among these streets, Inspector Edmund Harwick worked for 15 years, beginning as a constable in Whitechapel, rising to one of the most respected detectives. He was tall, lean hair, already gray hands calloused from his youth, in a forge eyes dark and steady. A man who lived alone in modest rooms near the British Museum. A man whose life was entirely service to the law. By October, the city choked with heavy fogs, yellowed by countless coal fires. Lamps floated like spirits. Horses and carriages moved through thick haze, and even seasoned Londoners lost their way. The wealthy behind locked gates believed themselves safe, but that belief would be shattered, for death now wore the mask of laughter. On the 15th of October, a scream cut the silence in Belgrave Square. Lady Margaret Harrington returned from an opera charity gala to find her door ajar, fog seeping inside her home. Mrs. Eleanor Whitfield, head housekeeper for 23 years, lay in the drawing room, hair arranged like a halo, hands folded across chest as if for burial, but her mouth stretched in a laugh so genuine it mocked death itself. The room told of violent struggle, furniture broken, curtains torn, yet the servant's face looked filled with joy. Inspector Harwick arrived at dawn. His assistant constable, James Thornberry, young and pale, whispered in horror, "It seems she died laughing." Harwick examined details like a scientist, the careful staging, the symbol carved upon her chest, a mask blending tragedy with comedy, and the sweet chemical scent in the air that hinted at medical compounds far beyond common use. Harwick recalled an earlier case of a disgraced doctor experimenting with anesthetics. This seemed more advanced, Lady Margaret, trembling, explained she left the gala early with a headache and returned to find the door open. The housekeeper had been loyal, strict, and precise, never careless, yet now dead with joy, frozen upon her face. Neighbors whispered they heard a woman laughing well. After midnight hours, after surgeons confirmed death, Mrs. Gertrude Pembroke across the square claimed the voice continued for nearly an hour, laughter filled with happiness, yet unsettling enough to make her shut her curtains. The first victim of the figure later named the Laughing Man was claimed. The tale spread quickly among London's upper class, though official papers hid the facts. The Times offered only a brief, polite note about a tragedy, while cheaper sensational presses published lurid drawings of a servant grinning in death. Inspector Harwick now stood upon a dangerous path. The Harrington name carried weight. Lord Charles sat in the House of Lords and controlled vast rail interests. One wrong step could end a career yet. Harwick refused silence. Mrs. Whitfield, though only a servant, deserved justice. Harwick's inquiry revealed she had lived a full life of duty, rising from scullery maid to head housekeeper. Over decades, fellow servants spoke of kindness and fairness, but also whispered of odd behavior. In recent weeks, she was heard speaking in voices, playing roles as if she acted before invisible companions. One maid said she could switch from aristocratic tones to rough accents, like a performer this linked to theater. Struck Harwick as significant the mask carved upon her body, the strange staged laughter. Perhaps the killer's work was tied to the dramatic world. Harwick turned his focus toward London's theater's managers, spoke of a gentleman attending shows who laughed with unnatural force during tragic scenes. One manager recalled him roaring with mirth at Macbeth's darkest acts until patrons complained the man was wealthy, well-dressed, always alone, yet his appearance seemed to shift between accounts, tall with whiskers to clean-shaven and pale, always wearing fine clothes, always laughing at death. Weeks later, another body appeared. Geoffrey Cavendish, found in his Chester Square study, seated upright in a velvet chair, book of plays upon his lap, his mouth frozen in laughter, as if amused to the last, the room undisturbed. Unlike Whitfield's chaotic scene, neighbors claimed they heard long laughter through the night, long after doctors fixed the time of death. Harwick searched and found a hidden diary filled with notes. Cavendish wrote of an obsession with authentic human emotions, believing polite society produced only false reactions. He admired Whitfield's natural laughter at a dinner and desired to study such reactions. Under controlled trials, later entries revealed collaboration with one Dr. H, who provided chemical compounds capable of inducing genuine emotions. Cavendish even volunteered to be a subject. Confident curiosity would override fear, Harwick realized. Cavendish may not have been only victim, but partner Constable Thornbury discovered letters signed H describing formulas for emotional control. Harwick remembered rumors of a physician expelled from practice for cruel experiments, Dr. Sebastian Hartwell, once praised as brilliant, then condemned for inhumane trials with patients. Hartwell obsessed over facial expressions of true emotion, especially laughter. He believed chemicals could unlock pure joy beyond social masks. Hartwell vanished from lodgings, leaving behind notes, drawings, chemical bottles, and strange smells. His landlady recalled late-night speeches and odd odors of medicine. Hidden walls contained a laboratory with apparatus, notes of trials on unknown subjects, records described how compounds produced laughter, lasting even after death functions ceased. Harwick then learned more residents suffered mysterious incidents. Lady Victoria Peyton returned from travel to find her papers, searched books on theater missing. Lord Hamilton Fairfax reported theft of works on psychology and acting. Mrs. Charlotte Bramwell saw a man studying her home from shadows. Descriptions matched the theater patron who laughed at tragedies. Each of these figures had attended lectures by Dr. Hartwell earlier in the year, lectures about authentic emotion versus artificial social performance. Both Whitfield and Cavendish had also been there. The murderer was selecting targets from those circles. Harwick understood he hunted not a mad brute, but a man of science. Using society as laboratory, the fog-thickened winter approached the investigation deepened. Harwick sought anyone who could lead him further. One young medical student, Thomas Whitmore, admitted he once aided Hartwell, believing it harmless research, but grew horrified by experiments designed to force raw feelings. Hartwell called his compound essence of joy. He conducted trials in a hidden dockside warehouse, convincing volunteers from poorhouses and schools that they were helping science later. He targeted intellectuals from lectures, aiming to prove theories to the world. Harwick prepared for confrontation, then one night received a letter written in Hartwell's hand, inviting him to the Adelphi Theater at midnight, promising the ultimate display of authentic human emotion. Harwick knew it was a trap, but he accepted, determined to end the nightmare. The Adelphi Theater stood silent under heavy fog, the stone columns rising like ghosts from the Strand. Harwick entered through the stage door, moving past dark halls lined with faded posters. The auditorium felt empty, yet filled with echoes of countless past performances. Voices rose from the stage. Harsh light revealed two figures. Dr. Sebastian Hartwell stood tall, commanding the room, while beside him, alive and smiling with cold detachment, was Geoffrey Cavendish, the man thought murdered Hartwell. Greeted Harwick as though addressing a class, announcing that the inspector would witness the true height of science. Cavendish explained that their project spanned years, aiming to strip away social masks and release unfiltered emotions. Hartwell held a glass vial glowing faintly. He said it contained pure terror designed for Harwick as final subject. But Harwick never forgot survival skills. From long service, hidden in his coat, a small mirror waited as Hartwell advanced. Harwick raised it, reflecting the beam of the stage lamp into their eyes. Chaos erupted. Cavendish lunged. Hartwell stumbled. The vial slipped, shattering upon the pit floor. Vapors filled the air. Both men inhaled the deadly mist. Screams turned to manic laughter, then to shrieks of terror. Harwick fought through confusion, overpowering Cavendish and restraining Hartwell. Reinforcements rushed, and the nightmare ended with arrests. News of the case shook the Empire. Newspapers filled columns with lurid tales. Trials began at the Old Bailey in spring 1888. Hartwell sat pale, broken, often seized by fits of panic. The compound he created now cursed him. Cavendish testified with cold logic, describing their work as science, not crime. Prosecutors revealed laboratories hidden in warehouses filled with remains, notes, formulas, and lists of future subjects. More than 50 names included judges, members of parliament, professors, actors. The scale was staggering. The public gasped as evidence showed experiments extended years beyond first murder. Volunteers from workhouses and students lured with coins disappeared into chemical trials. Later experiments targeted the elite to force recognition of Hartwell's theories. Medical experts confirmed compounds were far beyond current science, chemicals capable of creating states of joy, grief, terror, stillness while keeping subjects aware. Prosecutors declared the pair cloaked cruelty and language of progress, calling it the most dangerous kind of villainy. Justice Hawkins presided. Sir Charles Russell argued that intelligence without morality was the gravest threat. Hartwell was sentenced to hang, yet declared insane and confined to Broadmoor, where constant fear consumed him until death 2 years later. Cavendish received life at Pentonville, once a patron of salons, now reduced to stitching prison mailbags. His health broke within 3 years, dying in his cell. Fellow inmates swore they heard laughter hours before his body was found, echoing the torment of his victims' discoveries. At the Adelphi Theater revealed chambers beneath the stage, used for hidden preparations. Journals recorded every victim with clinical detail lists, contained plans for many more experiments. Only Harwick's resistance prevented greater slaughter. At the warehouse by the docks, investigators uncovered chemical tanks filled with human remains. Proof experiments had continued far longer than believed accomplices. escaped, vanishing into shadows, perhaps carrying knowledge abroad. Whispers suggested similar trials may have begun in other cities, though no firm proof was given. Government sealed many records, rumors claimed. Military researchers studied fragments of Hartwell's work for use in later wars, though archives remain. Secret Harwick, promoted to chief inspector, became known as expert on crimes using science and intellect, his methods studied. At police academies, his notes taught younger officers that the gravest dangers were faces of respectability. Harwick himself lived scarred by memories, knowing monsters often wore robes of scholars. The Adelphi Theater reopened, but stories of eerie laughter haunted workers. Some swore shadows lingered beneath the stage. The case entered legend as the Laughing Man murders, remembered as caution against unchecked science. Society confronted truth that education and wealth do not ensure virtue. Progress without ethics invites. Horror London never forgot how easily knowledge can be twisted. This story warns that the sharpest minds may commit the darkest crimes when convinced their cause is noble. Dr. Hartwell and Geoffrey Cavendish believed their experiments would advance humanity, yet they left a trail of suffering and death across fog-filled streets. Of 1887, what of the victims whose names were never traced? What of the accomplices who slipped away? Perhaps experiments continued beyond London. Hidden in other corners of the world, unanswered questions linger to this day. Do you think all victims were found, or were others erased from history by chemicals and fire? Could other minds have carried fragments of the formulas forward? Share your thoughts below in the comments. If you felt chills from this account, subscribe to our channel, hit the bell for future tales, and send this story to a friend who enjoys historical mysteries. The fog of Victorian London holds countless secrets, and together we shall uncover more. Where science, madness, and horror converge, we will meet again in the next dark journey.